You are lying awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, doing the exact same math in your head for the 100th time. The numbers never change, and the suffocating weight sitting on your chest only grows heavier. You are working harder than ever, trying to build a business, trying to provide for your family, trying to faithfully steward what you have been given. Yet the debt feels like a relentless tide pulling you under. You have likely been told that escaping this financial prison requires extreme, miserable frugality, or that as a faithful woman, you should simply pray harder and care less about money. But what if the exact blueprint to dismantle your debt and build lasting wealth was written thousands of years ago, hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to use it? Hit subscribe right now to master the biblical principles that turn financial panic into lasting peace and unstoppable purpose. The strategy you need is not a modern banking hack. It is an ancient system revealed in the second book of Kings, chapter 4. We are going to call it the oil jar system, and it completely shatters the modern advice that leaves so many hardworking women feeling stuck, guilty, and overwhelmed. The story begins with a woman in absolute crisis. She is a widow, drowning in debt she did not create, and the creditors are quite literally knocking on her door, threatening to take her 2 sons away to serve as slaves. Her fear is raw. Her options seem non-existent. When she cries out to the prophet Elisha for help, she expects a miracle from the outside. She expects a sudden windfall to fall from the sky. But Elisha does not hand her a bag of gold. He does not offer pity. Instead, he asks her a question that shifts the entire trajectory of her life, and it is the exact question you must answer today. He asks, "What do you have in your house?" Her immediate response is the exact same response you and I give when we are overwhelmed by financial pressure. She says she has nothing, nothing at all. But then she hesitates. She adds a tiny, seemingly insignificant detail. She says she has nothing except a small jar of olive oil. This brings us to the very first phase of your financial escape plan. You must identify your hidden asset. When you are buried in debt, your brain enters survival mode. You develop a psychological blind spot where you can only focus on the massive mountain of what you owe, blinding you to the resources you already possess. You look at your bank account and declare that you have nothing. You look at your fledgling business and think it is not generating enough. But the oil jar system requires you to stop looking at your lack and start scrutinizing your house. Your small jar of oil might not be literal oil. It could be a specialized skill you have been giving away for free. It could be an unused room in your home, a piece of equipment gathering dust, a forgotten savings account, or a creative talent you have consistently undervalued. As a woman stepping into entrepreneurship, you have been culturally conditioned to minimize your gifts. You brush off your talents as just little hobbies. But God never multiplies nothing. He always multiplies something, no matter how small it appears to the naked eye. You must find your one jar of oil. You must acknowledge the asset, the talent, or the resource that you currently possess, because that tiny, overlooked asset is the exact seed from which your entire financial freedom will grow. But having the oil is not enough to pay the debt. The oil must be poured, which leads us directly into a deeply uncomfortable but entirely necessary second phase. Elisha gives the widow a strange command. He tells her to go outside, walk around her neighborhood, and borrow empty jars from all her neighbors. He explicitly tells her not to ask for just a few. Think about the profound vulnerability required in this moment. She is already known as the destitute widow. Now she has to knock on the doors of her community, look them in the eye, and ask to borrow their empty pots. This reveals a massive contrarian truth about escaping debt and building wealth. You cannot do it in isolation. Pride is the very thing keeping you broke. We live in a culture that glorifies the self-made woman, the solitary hustler who grinds in secret and suddenly emerges victorious. But the biblical blueprint for abundance heavily relies on alliances. You must multiply your capacity by asking for empty vessels. In your modern life, borrowing jars means leveraging the resources, knowledge, and networks of other people. It means swallowing your pride and finding a mentor who has already walked the path to financial freedom. It means partnering with another business owner to expand your reach. It means asking for help, negotiating better terms, or utilizing platforms and audiences that you did not build from scratch. The widow could only receive as much oil as she had jars to hold it. If she had let her embarrassment stop her after gathering 3 jars, the miracle would have ceased at 3 jars. The text specifically notes that the oil only stopped flowing when there was not a single empty vessel left. Therefore, your financial multiplication is directly capped by your willingness to expand your capacity through alliances. You are limiting your own income because you are trying to be the only jar in the room. You have to step out, embrace the temporary discomfort of looking foolish, and aggressively gather the resources and relationships that will hold your coming growth. If you are realizing how much pride has held back your financial breakthrough, subscribe now so we can continue uncovering the biblical strategies that multiply your impact. Once the widow has gathered every available jar, she shuts the door behind her and her sons, and she begins to pour. The tiny flask fills the first massive pot, then the next, then the next. The impossible happens behind closed doors through diligent, focused work. But the story does not end with a room full of valuable oil. Having potential wealth is completely useless if you do not know the correct order of operations to deploy it. She runs back to Elisha to report the miracle, and he gives her the final, crucial phase of the system. He says, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." Notice the strict, unwavering priority in his instructions. He does not tell her to go buy a new wardrobe to celebrate. He does not tell her to upgrade her lifestyle now that she is suddenly wealthy. He establishes a permanent law of financial liberation. First, you monetize the asset. Go and sell the oil. Second, you eliminate the bondage. Pay your debts. Third, and only third, you build your life on the remainder. This is where so many brilliant, well-intentioned entrepreneurs fail catastrophically. The moment their business starts generating real revenue, the moment their small jar of oil begins to multiply, they immediately increase their standard of living. They buy the better car, they upgrade the house, they start taking expensive vacations, all while carrying the heavy chains of past debts. They live on the oil first and try to pay the creditors with whatever happens to be left over. This backwards approach guarantees that you will remain a slave to the lender forever. The oil jar system demands that you aggressively target the debt the moment your capacity expands. You must view the elimination of debt not as a punishment, but as the urgent rescue of your future. Your business revenue is not yours to consume until the chains are broken. By paying the creditors first, you are buying back your peace of mind. You are buying back your time. You are ensuring that your children, your family, and your future are never again threatened by a sudden shift in the economy. Only after the debt is destroyed does the prophet say you can live on what is left. This remaining oil is your freedom fund. It is the capital that allows you to operate your business from a place of supreme confidence rather than desperate panic. But there is a deeper struggle here, a quiet guilt that many Christian women carry when it comes to this final step. You might secretly feel that desiring financial freedom is somehow unspiritual. You might feel that wanting a surplus of oil, wanting enough to live comfortably and securely, is greedy. You must recognize that this guilt is a lie designed to keep you powerless. God did not just provide enough oil to pay the widow's debt. He provided a massive, overflowing surplus so that she and her sons could live on the rest. Abundance is not a sin, it is a tool for righteous impact. When you are no longer drowning in debt, when your business is thriving and your freedom fund is full, you finally have the bandwidth to be radically generous. You can become the person handing out empty jars to the next woman in crisis. You can fund ministries, support your community, and build a legacy that echoes for generations. Your financial freedom is not about buying luxury. It is about stepping fully into your God-given purpose without the heavy, distracting yoke of financial bondage holding you down. So let us bring this entirely into focus. You are going to escape the crushing weight of debt by executing the oil jar system today. First, you will stop agonizing over what you lack and clearly identify your one hidden asset, that single skill or resource you have been ignoring. Second, you will completely abandon your pride, step outside your comfort zone, and borrow empty jars by forming strategic alliances and asking for the help you desperately need. Third, as your capacity multiplies and the revenue flows, you will enforce strict discipline. You will sell the oil, pay the debt first to break your chains, and then confidently build your wealthy, purpose-driven life on the surplus. You do not have to live another night staring at the ceiling in fear. The oil is already in your house. It is time to start pouring. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss a biblically aligned revelation that could transform your financial trajectory forever. And be sure to click the video on your screen right now to discover the next essential step in your journey to total freedom.